Just kidding. Good morning, Abe. Now I could hear. I think when I unmute it and then he starts recording and I hit OK, like it was like the new feature, and then it puts you back into mute or something. No, sorry. Oh, also he goes on. All right, good morning, everybody. We're in the middle of Gimel and Aleph. We just started a couple minutes ago. So now we're trying to figure out the author of our Mishnah, and we're suggesting that it's not Rabbi Yossi, which is similar to a from another case in Bava Kama. So over there, Rabbi Yossi says you punish the those who try to deceit. So if it's Rabbi Yossi, Elimarti Rabbi Yossi, Hashta Umahas and Devada Ikamana Lamar Vikamana Lamar, that over there, even though definitely $100 goes back, right, to each person that deposited, because one person deposited 100, the other person deposited 200, so they each get 100 back. And nevertheless, I'm Rabbi Yossi and Munach Eliyahu. So Rabbi Yossi over there says, let that money over there wait till Eliyahu. So over here, right, where it is possible that it is one of theirs, isn't obvious, right? There's that you go ahead and but that you leave it out. In other words, they don't distribute it to anybody. So Gemara says no. Over there, there's definitely a ramai, right? One person gave 200, one person gave 100. That we know. Over here, who says there's actually someone who's being deceitful? You can say that Lamaisa, both people, each they picked up at the same time, and therefore it's true. And therefore, even Rabbi Yossi over there, he only says over there that we punish the person who's being deceitful by saying all the money goes to Eliyahu, because he's validly being deceitful. But over here, it could be true that they picked it up at the same time. So where it says Inami or Hasam, can he say that Rabbi Yossi over there? He punished that Rabbi Yossi, the person to go ahead and tries to be deceitful. In other words, all of a sudden he sees he's going to lose $100 that he deposited with Randy, right? Maybe he's going to go ahead and admit, okay, yeah, I was the 100, not the 200. At least just give me my 100 back. However, the lady, but over here, what loss is there? If I see that Mark picks up, a nice garment. So I would love that coat. So I just grab it and say, "Oh, we picked up at the same time, right?" So all of a sudden the punishment is you leave it over for Eliyahu Navi. Okay, it wasn't mine in the first place. What do I care, right? But also my psidis. So Gemara says Tinach Mitziyah. So okay, this works well in the case of a Mitziyah. But what about a case of Mekam right? What are you going to say in that case, right? In the case of the Mekam right? We both, one guy paid for it, and the other guy sort of, threw the money at the seller, and he says it's mine. And that guy's, the other guy was really there first and bought it. Then, the seller received his money. He just doesn't recall who was who. So there is a loss in that case. So maybe then if he knows that it's going to have to go, he doesn't get his money back. So maybe he wouldn't, maybe there is room to go ahead and put that in. Rather, we'll say it like we said in the first place, that we don't know. It was the first error is that we don't know that the taka could be true what they were saying, and therefore there's no reason to leave it over for Eliyahu, as opposed to the other case in Bava Kama where the vada is someone who's being deceitful. And Bein Rabbanan. Let's introduce another case. So, case of Chandani al Picasso. So what's that case? Randy, we're going to have you. You're the employer. You employ me. Thank you very much. Do some landscaping, and Eddie owns a corner store. And you tell Eddie, says, "Okay, Yo is going to work for me. He works $100 a day." And let him go ahead and, on my account, take $100, or you pay for him, you give him money, and you pay him, you got cash, and I'll, put it on my account, and I'll pay you back. So that was Sunday. Monday, I go to Randy. He says, Randy, I was never paid, never got my money. I told Eddie. So, and then Eddie comes to you the same day, says, oh, by the way, I paid Joel $100, now you got to give me the $100. So each one of us are claiming against Randy, and the halacha over there is, each one of us, our nishba, swear that I swear that wasn't paid. Eddie swears that he was paid, and we go ahead and take the money from Randy. So I swear I wasn't paid. I got my $100 from Randy. Eddie swears that he paid me. Then he goes ahead and gets reimbursed from Randy $100. So now, according to the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi, in the case of, the case of when we deposited money with Randy, we said the money gets left over. So what about the Diktani? So according to Rabbanan and Rabbi Yaisi, who says, right, that a certain amount that is under suffic is left over for Eliyahu or Navi. Right, so Gabi Chenvani Al Picasso, regarding that case, the Tani says the halacha is that Nishba V'Noitel is Nishba V'Noitel, that both the storekeeper and the worker, each one's Nishba V'Noitel. So Maishno, why do we say to Lai Marina Nafkilim Amayim Balabais V'Munach Hachiyah Belio? Why do we say over there? Obviously, one of us are lying, right? Either you paid me or you didn't pay me, right? So one of us are lying. So why don't we go ahead and punish the liar and say all the money should be left for Eliyahu Navi, right? Take the $100, but by Eliyahu Navi, why should we be able to take it? Let's punish the Ramai. Because there certainly is a person who's being deceitful there. So Mihasni said there, because Chanvani can say the Balabai is like this. Eddie will say to Randy, says, you asked me to do something. You asked me to pay Yoel, I paid Joel. I don't have shaykhs with him. I don't need to believe Yoel. I have nothing to do with him. Even though if he swears to me that I wasn't paid, right? Eddie will say, I know I paid him. I would not believe B'shua because I paid him. So you obviously trusted him. You obviously trusted Yoel because you said, you never demanded or said that I should pay me in front of witnesses, right? That would obviously be much easier. Yeah, the witnesses say that Yoel was paid for doing his landscaping, but there was not. So therefore, you trust Yoel. I don't, says Eddie, right? Therefore, he makes his shvua and gets his $100. And V'sachir Nami, and then me, the worker, also would say to Randy, I worked for you. We had a deal. Go ahead and mow your lawn, trim the bushes, did all that. What shaykhs do I have the chanvani? Even though Eddie will swear to me that he paid me, I don't believe him. Therefore, both these cases, therefore, both of them, basically, since the Balabai has put himself in this position, therefore both of them have the ability to go ahead and swear and take the money, and therefore they each one they're not subject to leaving that money at Shiabu Elio, like the case we had from Baba Khan. Fine. 2 dots, new case. Now comes some fun and games. So we're around 3/4 of the way down to the bottom, maybe a little more. So 2 dots. Tani Reb Chia. So Reb Chia is going to make a statement, and he's going to try and bring a proof for it, and we're going to have to understand the statement, and then see if this proof is a valid proof. So let's see what's going on here. So Tani Reb Chia. Marali biyadcha v'hala amer enacha biyadai klum. So Alan, welcome to the game. So Alan claims from Levi. So he says, Alan says to Levi, I lent you $100. Levi, you needed it. Your wife told you to upgrade your house, your work clothes, your work clothes. Right. So upgrade your house. Here is $100. That should cover it. Right. So you gave $100 to Levi. Levi said, I don't know what you're talking about. Right. And all of a sudden, 2 witnesses come along, Mark and Eddie, and testify that Levi indeed borrowed money, but it was $50. So Levi goes ahead and has to pay back $50 based upon the testimony of Mark and Eddie, and he has to make a shvua that he doesn't owe anything else. Okay, so now bring into this case, there's a couple classic cases of where one makes a shvua. We're going to see the next bladder. So. And they are as follows. The first one is that a person is ma'idin mixes. A person is ma'idin mixes. He admits to owing some money, a partial admission. So if Mark says I owe him $1,000, I say I only owe you $400. So we say that ma'idin mixes, I have to make a midaraisa. I have to pay him $400 because I admit that, and then I have to make a shvua that I don't owe him the rest. All right, that's one case. Another case is like this. A person has a claim against him. Eddie says, I owe him $100. I say, I don't. So obviously, the halacha normally is, let's say Eddie brings one witness. There's a witness, right? Mm-hmm. So witness, you need 2 witnesses. So what does one witness do? So one witness can make me make a shvur. Eddie, on his own, just to claim, he can't make me make a shvur. Swear you don't owe money. I'm not making you a shvur you don't owe you money. But you got no proof. Bring proof, and then I'll have to pay you. But if he brings one witness, they have to make a shvur. So now over here, we got 2 witnesses saying you owe $50.
Okay.
So he pays the $50 and he has to make a shvua that he does not owe the other $50. So let's see what's going on here. So why?
Well, because initially he said
I owe zero.
Zero.
All right. So he was not
So
more
it's
than
more-
mixes. No, he was not more than mixes.
No,
He was not one of the mixes. Right. So he was not more than mixes, but the other people were machayiv him in that mixus, and now he is the other. So let's see. In order that we have to understand the statement that his admission is not greater than that of which witnesses from a kavachayim. And we'll have to see what that means. But Tani Tuna, and we have a case to support this. Excuse me, a Mishnah that would support the Reb Chia's statement, right? And it happens to be our Mishnah. So there are two people with the talis, and each one said I found it. So that's the case. Cave on the tough is so since two of them are holding it. So on sahadi the the tough is high. Didehu the tough is high. Didehu. Basically, if Eddie and I both are holding a garment, right? So it's like the equivalent of witnesses testifying that half of it's yours and half of it's mine, right? Because you, by holding it, you like the muksa. It basically says this is yours. It's similar to Edus. The Ketani says over there, Yeshava, right? So, and it says over there, you swear. In other words, basically, it's like this. If it's me and Eddie, so Eddie basically has witnesses that half the garment is his. So you take the garment, just like in this case over here, we had two people testify that $50 was Alan's and not Levi's. And then the Mishnah says, I swear on the rest. I swear that the other half is mine, i.e. that the whole garment's not yours. So to in this case, Reb Chia, right? Levi makes a shvua that the rest is not yours. I get to keep the other $50. So that is the comparison of the two cases, and the Gemara will soon see if this is a good comparison. Now, first of all, the Gemara says, "My shaloite how does piv gedolim how does edom mikapel." What does it mean that one's admission should not be stronger, right, than the testimony of witnesses from a kaval chaymer? You shouldn't say how does people the Rami Rachman Shavuah Kedarabba. You should not say that only when it comes to one's own mouth, one's admission, do we say that only then a Shavuah is made, like Rabba Dama, Rabba Bipidei, Mamra Torah, Moed Mixes Hatayla Yishava. What's the reason why the Torah says that a person who admits to a partial admission, or to right, he admits to right a partial admission that he has to make a shvua? Why? Because chazaka ein adam meis panav b'fnei al chayva. The person's a chazaka. He does not have the audacity to go ahead and lie to someone who lent him money. Right? He doesn't have the audacity to do it. And he wants to deny the whole entire loan. And the reason why he doesn't deny the whole thing, because the person doesn't have the audacity to do something. However, turn the page, and really he wants to admit the whole thing and pay it back and be a good person. And the reason why he's not doing it is because he's trying to sort of buy himself some time. He knows he doesn't have the cash available. Okay, I got, I only borrowed $40 and I still, there's 60, so here's the 40. So, right. So he wants to pay him those 60, he just doesn't have it. It'll take him a couple of weeks. So Savar, once I have the money, then print it, I'll give him the other $60. And then that we say, Rachman Torah says, Rabbi Shvuah, right? We should make him go ahead and make a shvuah, in order that he should admit to all of it. So in a case,
we can't pay it.
Right, but at least he admits it. Right, that's it. Right, but right, but in the other case, right, is like admitting it. Then if he comes up with the money, then he'll pay him. But maybe he won't. So who knows about how does they did? But when it comes to witnesses. Right? Amalo. But when it comes to witnesses, right, two people testify, you just have to pay. There's no making of a shvua. So Kamash Malon, and in this case, when we had the two witnesses say that Levi borrowed $50, then Kamash Malon makes a shvua. What's this kavachayra? So one's own mouth cannot be mechayev mamon. So nevertheless, it can be mechayev shul when a person's made the mixes. So edim shemechayev asam mamon. So when it says who can't obligate one to pay money, eno jin shemechayev asam mamon, shemechayev asam shul. It's not obvious that we can go ahead and be mechayev to make a shul. Gemara says, wait, time out. A person's own mouth cannot obligate him to pay money. Well, does Baldin dummy, right? If a person admits it that he owes something, then it's just like the equivalent to the testimony of 100 people. Of course, his mouth can be mechayiv mammon, just like Adam. You lose the kal v'chaymer. So he says, no. My mammon, what is the mammon? In a kanas. If there's a kanas, the person says he violated someone's daughter. There's a kanas that the Torah says one has to pay, so one would not have to pay that on his own admission. So one's own mouth cannot be mechayiv to pay a kanas. Nevertheless, it can obligate him to make a shua mother mitzvahs. So witnesses, two people testify against him. Let's say that he violated the girl, and therefore he has to pay the kanas. Isn't it obvious that he should be obligated to make a shua? And Malif says, wait, Malif Shechein Mechayiv a korban. But maybe you can say that the piv is stronger than the Eidim. Why? Because we'll find that, and therefore, since the piv, his own mouth is stronger than witnesses, maybe that's why he makes a shua with mother mitzvahs, but you can't apply the shua to when witnesses testify in the other half instead of his admission. Well, Malif Shechein Mechayiv a korban. Well, one's own mouth, the person says, hey, I ate chelach b'shegeg. I have to go ahead and bring a korban chatas, right? So a person admits he has to bring a korban, so he is a chayv korban. However, but witnesses cannot go ahead and testify and says he ate chaylev, and therefore I have to bring a korban chatas. I'm not chayv to bring korban chatas there. So only if I admit it, not witnesses there. So where says no. Halikasha, Reb Chia, Krameir. Actually, there is a shik like that. Reb Chia holds like Krameir. Sphere late. Omar Eidim are actually mechayv so korban. Witnesses can be mechayiv a person a korban and mikav v'chaymer from mikav v'chaymer. That's now we learn in the Mishnah. Amrlo, they say to him, Amrlo Shnaim. Two people said to him, "Achal techelev, you ate chelev." What are you talking about? Right? You're crazy. Rameir mechayiv. Rameir says he is chayiv to go ahead and bring a korban chatas. The Chachamim say no. You're patur. You cannot make somebody else bring a korban chatas. And Rameir says, "What's my svara?" Say meviu shnaim l'dei misa chamuru lo yeviu l'dei korban atel. I understand. If they can go ahead and basically bring a punishment, a capital punishment to the individual, certainly they can bring the quote-unquote punishment of bringing a korban. So the Chachamim will respond to Rameir. No, well, the person has simple defense. He writes, right? If he wants to say, it says, hey, I ate Caleb, I ate it on purpose. Yeah, okay, what's your point? I don't have to be a korban, right? So if you admit you did meiz ha'isi, right? I did meiz it, you're not going to have a korban. So therefore, it says Rameir, you can always get out of it. So believe me when I say no, and therefore you can't obligate me. Because if I want, I can just say, okay, yeah, I ate it. Hashem will deal with me. But I don't have to bring a korban. So therefore, maybe the piv is stronger than witnesses. Right? So over here, we say, no, we hold like Rameir says that they can go ahead and bring. So maybe a piv could be chayv asham. So one says, asham haina korban. Asham same as the korban. Maybe so only one's mouth can be mechayiv chaymesh, but witnesses cannot be chayiv a person of chaymesh. In other words, if I go ahead and I admit I lied under oath, and we just talked about the sugya, the end of Baba Kama, right? We said this before this, right? So before we were talking about it, a person has to add on a chaymesh, right? He added on a chaymesh. So, but witnesses say he lied in court. He doesn't bring a chaymesh. It's only for one's admission. So maybe an admission is mechayiv a chaymesh, and therefore a mouth is stronger, and therefore a mouth could subject himself to the shua of mother mixes, but witnesses cannot. So once again, the verse says no. Haloi kasha Rabbi Chia Krameir Svili also Krameir. Just like have a korban, the mechayiv him a korban from a kav chaymer. Mechayiv a chaymesh mekav chaymer. So too they can be chayiv him a chaymesh from a kav chaymer. In other words, if they can bring him to death, therefore they can also bring him to pay an extra fifth. Maybe his mouth is not subject to achash and azama. Right? You can't say if a guy admits you something, he says, "Oh, you're a zayman because you were with us on that day." Right? When one admits something, that only it's a din in witnesses. Right? So maybe one's mouth is not subject to hazama and achasha. That they are subject to it, and since they are subject to it, maybe that's a weaker thing, and therefore there's no mother makes a shvua.
If somebody wrong a gazela, they just have to return the gazela.
Well, right. You're saying referring to a Geneva? Yeah. Well, Geneva's cable, right?
Okay.
Well, not if you.
But if they're brought to court, then they also have to pay a fifth.
No. So that was the case. Let's say a person, let's say he went to court and he denied having the object, right? And then, or he was watching and he denied having it. He made sure he didn't have it. And then it turns out he had it. So technically he was a goslin, right? So over there, the goslin, it tacks on a fifth, right? But if he would have...
That's in court.
Right, but that's if he admitted it. But witnesses, right. So
if he just returns the object,
right, exactly, right.
That's it.
Right. The chaymesh only comes in when it comes that the person makes a denial of having the object, and then so there's some hold that only napiv, his admission, and others say even Adam. So Gemara says Elo Asyam Eid Echad. Rather forget the peeve. Rather let's concentrate on Eid Echad, as if like an Eid Echad could be Mechayiv Shvua. But that was the other type of Shvua. An Eid Echad Shvua is one where once again Eddie claims money for me. I say I owe you nothing. Prove it, and he can't prove it. But all of a sudden he brings a witness. Yigal says, Yoel, you owe him money. I saw Eddie lend you money. So then I have to make a Shvua. Right? One witness cannot obligate me to pay, but you can force me to make a Shvua from the Torah. So then one witness cannot obligate a person mamon. So witnesses will get mamon. Isn't it obvious that they should be able to mechayv a shvua? So says no. Well, let's think about it. When Yigal comes and makes me swear as an eid, when he's an eid echad, what am I swearing on? I'm swearing on that which he's testifying that I was denying. In other words, that $100, right? I'm going on the $100. He says, "Oh, so I am making a shvua about that money itself." Taimar, Taimar be'edim shama shekaparu nishba. But in the case of the witnesses, the case we started off with, right, when Levi owed right, so then Mark and Eddie testified against Levi that he indeed borrowed $50. So he's not making a shvua on that $50. That $50 is long gone. You got witnesses against you. You're done. You're toast. It's the other $50 that he's making a shvua that I don't owe anything else, right? So the shvuas aren't working the same. The shvua from the one witness is on the actual money that's being testified. The shvua from the two witnesses is not on the money that was being that they testified about. That he's done, right? He has to pay. That is only the other claim that the malva was above and beyond that which was from which the witnesses testified. So he says, right? So say, okay, so therefore we'll say, no. What we meant was there's a Gilgal Shvua, right? The Gilgal Shvua is a case that one witness can go ahead and be Makai the Gilgal Shvua. In other words, let's say Eddie says, you owe me $100. I say, I owe you nothing. 2 weeks later, he says, you owe me $500. I said, I owe you nothing. And all of a sudden he has one aid for one of those cases. So I have to make a shvua in that case on that $500 because he had a witness for that. And since I'm making a shvua on that, so they'll be megago to make a shvua also on the other $100 as a claim against me. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if there's the what's it called? Statute of limitations when it comes to that. But anyway, so we say so over there only Eid Echad can be Magago. So Magago should Eid Echad Shekain Shvua. So he said over there, no Magago Shvua. Eid Echad Shekain Shvua Gorer Shvua. Tomar be'Eidin the Mama Kamachayv. So say no over there that when it comes to the Gilgal Shvua, right? So it's only that is brought in from one witness that he is Machayiv, that is the Shvua that's Machayiv the other one. But when it comes to two witnesses, right? They're not Machayiv him to make a Shvua than another Shvua. They're Machayiv him to pay money. So once again, maybe it's different. So the Gemara says Piv Yochiach. So it says, okay, let's go ahead and say that that in the case of Maida Mixus, right? In other words, we had a case earlier that which he testified on, right? It was that he doesn't make a shvua. And that was the case of Eid Echad, right? Eid Echad, we say, well, the thing with Eid Echad was it's a little different because, Eid Echad, the shvua is on the actual money that's in the claim versus the Eidim, where it's not the money of the witnesses that are testifying, it's the other monies. So the Gemara says, well, Piv Yochiach. Let's go to that, back to that text. So it says, Mal Piv Shechet Einam. So it says, the case of Maida Mitzvahs is just like the case right over here. Now, as what Maida Mitzvahs, I already admitted the money. It's the other monies that making the shvuah no different than the two witnesses testified on the $50, and it's the other money I'm making a shvuah on. So maybe the shvuahs are very similar between Piv right? And Piv and Shnei Edim, right? So the Gemara says, no, Mal Piv Shechin Edim Achasha. So we just said earlier that the Piv is not subject to Achasha. All right, so Eid Echad Yochiev. Oh, so let Eid Echad, right? So one witness is Yochiev Sheyesh Achasha, that he is an Achasha, B'chayv Shvuah. He is subject to Achasha, and he is a B'chayv Shvuah. Mal Eid Echad Shechin Alma Shemei Hu Nishba. So Tamar, so Eid Echad, that which he was made on, he's Nishba. Tamar Be'edim Shalma Shekaper Hu Nishba. But when it comes to the Eidim, it's only that, not that, the part that he denied Hu Nishba. So it's Piv Yochiev. So each one has the strength and weakness of the other one, and it's had a shalosh ahead. Just like a case of Piv, right? In case of the mixes, or 1-8 says you have to have. Both cases involve a claim. There's a claim and a denial, right? They come the nishba, and the halach is that he swears. So too in the case of the Eidim, right? Right? There was a claim, right? And there was a denial, the haim by, and the witnesses come and testify on the $50 of the dollars by Nishba, and therefore they have to go ahead and pay. So the Gemara says, no, well, wait 1 second. If a person makes, in both of the cases of Eid Echad or Modim Mixus, right? There is no proven liar. Okay, but in the case of Levi, so I don't know if everyone was hearing it earlier. The case of Levi was Alan lent Levi $100, or said, "I lent Levi, you owe me $100." Levi says, "I owe you nothing." Two witnesses come and say it was $50. We saw Levi owes $50, so Levi has to pay 50, and it makes a shvua that he doesn't owe 50 more. So now the Gemara says, "Wait, Levi is a huchsak kafron. He's a liar. We shouldn't trust his shvua. Why? He says, I owe you 0. We got 2 witnesses to say, what does he owe? He owes 50. He's a liar.
Oh, so
he's a huchsak kafron. So then he shouldn't be allowed to make a shvua. It's different in the case of Eid Echad or Modim Mixus, because there's no proven liar. But here's a proven liar, right? Huchsak kafron. Talking about Eidim, again, huchsak kafron. The Gemara says, "I Eidim Yehuchas Kafran." V'Omar V'Idi Baravi Namar Rav Chiza HaKofer b'Malda or b'Milva Kashli Edus. One who goes ahead and denies a loan, he's actually Kashli Edus, because Milva Loitzan, it's not an actual object. It goes into his money, and so therefore his denial of that doesn't necessarily make him a Kafran, right? However, Bikadon, but if he denies having the item, then he's Pasal Edus, right? Then he's Pasal Edus. So our case is talking about a loan. So maybe the loan is not hosel kafir, and therefore he should be allowed to go ahead and make a shuas. So those are not b'taras hazama. So there's no hazama when it comes to one witness. You need 2 witnesses. So once again, according to Reb Chia, that's not a kasha. So the Gemara tries to blow up the svara of the logic of Reb Chia, and they weren't able to do that. They essentially, okay, we'll leave you the Kavachan. Now let's take a look.
What was Reb Chia's?
Reb Chia had the original statement of our case. He was the one who ruled in this case. His chiddush was that Levi has to make a shvu on the other $50, and he learns it from a Kavachemer, from Maida Mixus, and a shvu of an Eid Echad. And he learned in a Kavachemer that in those 2 cases you make a shvua. So too in this case, Levi would have to make a shvua on the other $50. So that was his limit, right?
Okay.
Now, and he used our
saying that it's not a good combo.
No, so we're saying that so we're saying that it's a tzad. In other words, we learned it both from the admission and that, and therefore the Eidim do bring him to make a shvua. But now the Gemara takes objection with the proof. So Ella, the Kamar V'Tanatuna, so you wanted to use our Mishnah as a proof. Me dummy. How is our Mishnah the same thing, right? So we can say that what was the case of the Mishnah, right? No problem. Right? That's fine. So we say over here, it's a rude alarm, right? Israeli, yeah. Get up, especially in Hebrew, right? So let's go back. So what was the proof of the case? So the proof was me and Eddie grab a garment, right? So his holding on to the garment is basically like saying there's 2 witnesses saying that the beged belongs to Eddie. So I make a shvua that the rest doesn't belong to Eddie, and therefore I keep my half. And he keeps his half, and I keep the other half. Just like the case of there, two witnesses says he owes you $50. So he gives you the $50 and says, I don't owe you the rest. So to over here, I make a shvua, I don't owe you the rest of the bag, and I keep it. So Gemara says, me dummy. How can you compare the two? Hasam. Over there in the case of Levi, right? He had two witnesses saying he owed $50, and he did not have two witnesses saying he didn't owe anything. He had zero witnesses, right? He had no support. He had no support. If Levi did have proof that he wouldn't do anything, he wouldn't have to make a shvua. But Hach in this case of Shnei Ma'iksin, Kihechi, the Anan Sahadi Bahai, Anan Sahadi Bahai. But in this case, just like Eddie has two witnesses that really the beggar belongs to you, i.e., you're holding on to it, this tantamount to two witnesses. I also have two witnesses of support. So if I have two witnesses of support, why do I need to make a shvua on the part of my share? It's not the same. It's not if Levi had two witnesses says he doesn't owe $50. We know for sure that he paid him back $50, whatever it was. He had to get hold of a claim, right? The claim he was never given or he was paid, right? But if Levi has support of $50, he would have to make a shvua. So do I have support of $50 of half the bag. So I shouldn't have to make a shvua.
It's a strange shvua. Let's say I don't know.
Right. So the point is, it's a different case. Right, that's the most point. How can you use it as a support Reb Chia? It's a different case. So we need a new case. So Ella Ki Tamar Reb Chia says, okay, good point. Rather similar case, but different case. Ella Ki Tamar Vatan Tuna Aidach Reb Chia is another Reb Chia case. Right, throw out that Reb Chia case. Everything we just talking about Reb Chia with our Mishnah, throw that out. But we're going to still use our Mishnah, which is a new case. Different Reb Chia. Tamar. The Reb Chia Manali Biyadcha. V'Hala Marin Lechabiyadai Ella Chamishim. Zuz, the Halach. Halach. All right. Now, so he says to him, Alan says to Levi, you owe me $100. Levi turns around and says, all I have, the only thing I ever owed you was 50. And Halach, which is sort of means here it is. And the way we understand Halach is, I didn't even use it. Wherever it is, it's yours. It's still in my shtender. Take halach. Now, chayiv. You have to make a shvua there. Now, you might think, okay, Yoel, this is a classic case of right. He's makes us right. He claimed 100. He says your $50. First of all, it's 50, and second of all, $50 sitting in the shtender. Here it is. Right, take it. So it's chayiv make a shvua. My timer halach nami k'modim mitzvahs. It's similar to modim mitzvahs. And on that, we'll soon see what the other svar is. On that, the Tanatuna, and in support of that, Talis, two people are holding talis. Right? The cave and the tavis, the person that he's holding it, right? The Anan Sahadi, the tavis helachu, and therefore that which he's holding is saying like helachu, Viktani Shaba. And it says over there that he makes a shvua. So in other words, I admit to half of it, and therefore I'm saying, here it is, you take your half, right? You take your half. And Halach, right? And the other half is mine. I make a shvur. They don't owe you more, and therefore it's a proof. And Rav Sheshes.
Don't they say kula shali?
Don't
they say kula shali?
In our Mishnah, yeah. In the first case, the first case, yeah.
The second case.
Yeah, Zabir. All right. So even in that case, but since we have witnesses on it, i.e. witnesses, meaning he's holding it, it's like there's already witnesses. He can't claim the whole thing as his, right? Because the other guy's holding. Now, Rashesh Amar, Halach Pater. Halach is Pater. I didn't even say what he's talking about. It's Mother Mitzvahs, right? My timer, Cave Damar Le Halach, Hani Zuzi, the Kamaidi Begavayu, Command Nake Le Malvedami. Right? So it says, Adami. So it says like this. According to Rav Sheshes, when a person says halach, here it is, and I didn't use it, meaning I never took that from you. So he's not saying that I took a loan of $100, right? And the guys say, oh no, I only took a loan of $50. He's saying that the loan, you're not even asking for $100. You're asking for $100. Here's the 50, right? Here's $50. Here's your $50. I didn't take your $100. So here's your $50. So come again at me. You saying I owe you 50, I owe you 0. So it's not Moed Mixes. He's not admitting something. He's saying I never took it in the first place. I never took the loan, right? Yeah, I had the loan documents drawn up, or whatever. There's no loan documents here, but over here, yeah, we discussed it. I was going to take a loan from you, but I never ended up doing it. Here's your $50. Here's my proof, right? And the guy is saying, well, you owe me, it was $100, right? So therefore, according to Rav Sheshes, it's not a case of Moed Mitzvahs, right? Because I didn't admit to taking the loan, and now I have to pay you back, and it's not a loan. I never took the loan. Hey, look, here it is, right? Here it is. I never took it in the first place. And therefore, the other money you're claiming, the $100, that was never even the case, right? So first of all, it was only $50. Second of all, I never even took it. Here it is. So therefore, that's not my mixed according to Rav Sheshes. I'm sorry?
How did it get there?
Right, I never took it home.
Right. Or even if he took it, right? Let me see Rashi for a second. Right, even if he took it,
He obviously took the 50.
right?
But he said to say, hey, look.
Right. So this money does exist, and as we set up, and he says, right, lo hitziyasam. I'm just reading from Rashi, right? Rashi's like middle of the white lines. He says, right, I did not go ahead and use it. The hein shacha b'kol makom shehem, and they are yours wherever they're at. No, wherever the money is. I didn't use it. I didn't utilize the loan. Therefore, the money is still there. I didn't utilize it, but it was only $50. First of all, still in the envelope, right? And they're yours b'chol makom shehem. That's what halach means, right? Halach is a little different than I owe you or I'm paying you back. It's almost it has a level of almost a denial that it ever right that the loan started. So therefore, don't say that you made a claim of 100 and I'm admitting to 50 and I owe you 50, or I admitted to 50 and I'm denying 50. Rather, it's halach, we just take it off from the beginning, and therefore you're claiming me 50 and I owe you 0, and I'm denying the 50. So that's between Rav Sheshes and I think it's Rav Papa, right? We didn't get through yet. All right, fine. Rav Sheshes. So my time. So he says, "Command milva dami ba'inach with the other 50. Hilkach leka hodas mixes hataina. Therefore, there is no moed mix in this case. Rav Sheshes kasha masnis. Rav Sheshes kasha masnis, and some of the halach. Some of the Rav Sheshes masnis and takanas chamini. Our Mishnah, like we said earlier, is a takanas chamin. The chamin order misakin that people wouldn't go ahead and start grabbing things. So therefore, we make a shul. In a normal case like this, right? When he says halach, right, there's no shvua. V'idach, yes, takanas chamin. However, miyu iyamar to be shalom midoraisa halach. If you say midoraisa halach, a person goes ahead and in the chayv shvua chayiv. So mitaknei rabbanan shvua came doraisa. So therefore, the rabbanan will make a shvua, right? Came doraisa. Eliyamarta midoraisa halach pater. If you say midoraisa, one is pater. So mitaknei rabbanan shvua the lesser tikvasib midoraisa. Right? When you say that, we subject them to a shvua that even the Torah wouldn't mandate. So therefore, it's not even similar to the case. Now, as the Torah says, you're pater, so why would you go ahead and make him chayiv? So therefore, they would argue. So meisvei, so another kasha. So let's look at this case. So now, Saloim, you think your banker's sloppy? Check out this banker, right? Saloim dinarim. So all it said, the loan document was that you borrowed Saloim.
Doesn't say the number.
Right.
Doesn't say how much.
Monies, cash, right? Plural. Saloim or dinarim. So Malva Omar Chamesh. So the Malva says, right? So Randy lent money to Yigal, and it said the document said slime. So Randy claims it was 5. The Loiva Omer Shalosh. Yigal said it was 3, right? Can't deny it because it says slime, right? Or dinar, right? So Yigal says it was 3. Randy said it was 5. Since it's a Moed Mixus, you owe me 5. No, I don't owe you 5. I don't owe you 3. It's Moed Mixus. Make a shvua on the other 2. Rabbi Kiva Omer Eino Ela Kamesha Vedu Pater. Rabbi Kiva says, this is Mesha Veda. I'm being nice. You know why? The only proof is 2. The only proof is 2. That's it. So the fact that I'm saying 3, right? So it's like a Mesha Veda. I could have said 2. Right? But I said 3. So when a person returns a lost object, if I return your wallet and there's $70 in there, and you had $100 in there, and all of a sudden, hey, you stole money from my wallet. I said, I didn't have to return anything. I was Meishaveda, so we don't want to prevent Meishaveda. So there is no shua there. So when a person is Meishaveda, says, this is what I found, take it. Congratulations, you got your wallet back and list some of your cash back, right? So Meishaveda doesn't make a shua. So to over here, Yigal is like a Meishaveda. He's returning 3 to Randy, and therefore he's parted from a shua. Studying this, nevertheless, it says, so the first opinion was, since by the mixes, Yishava, that he makes a shua. So Talmud Amar Shalosh, sounds like the only reason why he makes a shua is because he admitted 3, right? Hashtayim, putter. But if he would have only said, I owed you 2, right? Then he putter, right? The high star, the Kamamaiti, all right, Helachu.
It says the plural, you could say it means to, but otherwise the bank would have put 6, 10.
Right,
So
could be.
Plural, coins.
Right.
Or whatever.
So, but he's basically using his proof as since it says coins, it doesn't say anything else, so therefore it's 2, and therefore, like it's 2, it's tangled to a case. Shamina, this is like if it was a case of 2, be putter from making a shvua, because it would be like halach. Yeah, it says 2, and here's your 2. Like I never used the 2, and therefore, right? Of a high start, come out of a halachu. Ushmamina halach putter. Gemara says no, that's not true. Really, I'd say 2 is chayim. The Tani Shalosh. The reason I saw that Fuki Merakiva to exclude Rabbi Kiva, the Omar Meisha Veda Avi Pater, right? That even in this case, Rabbi Kiva would say Pater. So that to show that he would argue, Kamashwa, the Mrs. Taina Havi Chai. That even in this case, he would say you're Chai to make a shua. See, Hachi Rabbi Shimon Elazar, Aimer Hoya V'Hoya Mrs. Taina Yishava. So Afzeh Yishavim Boyle should have said even in this case, right? Not just Yishava. So Afzeh Yishavim. In this case, he makes a shua. Not only case of right 2, but even 3. Rather, we'll say that really, if Yigal would have admitted in the first place that it was 2, Yipater. The Halech,
Even 2.
Right?
Only 2.
Avzeh.
If you said 2, then it doesn't think it's
Well, right. That's why. But in other words, they brought because the Machlokes is in 3, right? They brought the Eliyahu Stein Pater. But if it was a case of 2, right, then be Pater. The Halech Chayiv, right? And over there, really Halach is chayiv. The Shani Hak over here is then to come a side shtara, right? This is like what you're saying, Alan, right? He has a star that supports him, and therefore, since the star supports it, says, "Oh, it was 2, right?" And I have over here it says, dinarim. So therefore, here's your 2, right? So the Gemara says, "Inami or mishum dahavile star shiba kakos ve'inish by al kfiros shiba kakos," or we can say that a star is similar to a case of land. And we know by the case of land, right, the case of Moed Mitzvahs, there is no shvuas when it comes to the karka. It's only the movable objects. And Ika, the Muslim, and Ika, the Muslim, will be saving those that ask from the safe. So Rabbi Kiva, so Rabbi Kiva said, right, and so the first part we did, the first part was from Rabbi Shimon, and now we're going to go into Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva says, so he says, and therefore you are in such a case. He says, and you're pater, right? Pater. So Tam, the only reason why I said Meshaveda, which you guys pointed out before, is because it was 3. But if it was a case of 2, right, then you'd be chayiv. But the star is like he admits that it was his. Here it's yours, right? I have to give it to you. So Shmami no Halach Chayiv. You see over there is Halach is Chayiv in this case, right? Because over there it's only 3 their putter is Beishaveda, but 2 it's like Halach, and nevertheless it still says you're Chayiv. So we see that Halach is Chayiv. The rest says no, that's not true. Even 2 also putter. The reason why it says over there, specifically the case of 3, to exclude the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Elazar. Everybody that makes us Hataina Havichai, that he says even in that case, it makes us Havichai. Kamashwa, the Meshaveda who Pater. Therefore, it is the case of 3 to say that even in this case, it's not Moed Mixes, rather it's Meshaveda and Pater. And
what's the follow? I mean, pointing out.
Yeah.
You could have said something that could have said more after the
Oh yeah, Amigo. Yeah.
This guy could have said.
Well, Meshaveda, right? That's the svar of Meshaveda. It's like right. Like Meshaveda is Migo. I didn't have to return nothing, and then bringing you $70. So believe me that this is all what I found. Right. And Hachinami Mistabra, and over here it's logical to say these Sagadais of Shtayim Chayiv. Guess you'd say that even if he just claimed to that he'd be chayiv to go and make a shvua. So Heichi Pater Le Rabbi Kiva. How would in 3 he'd say he's Pater? Hi Rumi Kamar, right? That maybe he's making a little trick. Right? If I would say I owe him 2, right, then I have to make a shvua on the rest. In other words, and that's the guy doesn't want to lie. He's ultimately going to have to pay 5, right? He doesn't want to shvua. So therefore, Ema Shalosh, I'll call my losses. I'll say 3. I owe him 3. The Havi Kamesha Veda Pater, and therefore I'll be Pater, right? So therefore he says no. It's better for me to admit 3 and just pay 3 than me to say it's only 2, but then I have to make a shvua and I'm be forced to pay 5 because I'm a lie under oath. I just steal, right? So Shmamina, Pater. So Shmamina, we say over here that even if he claims 2, that the Halach is Pater. So Elo Kasha B'chia. So that's the case. In this case, according to B'chia says Halach would be Chayiv, right? Shani Hasan to come a Silei Shtar. Over there, he has a star to support him. Because he says 2, or inami mishum dahavile shtar shibud karkas ve'enish b'ayal kfiras shibud karkas, and we don't make a shvua when it comes to shibud karkas. So the same terutzin that we gave from the first case, we also gave in the second case. Now, so till now we have the case of Halach. He wants to prove Halach from our case of the mission. So Meis Marzucha Bered Rav Nachman. So Tainu Kalim v'karkos. So a person makes a claim. Yomi, utensils, movable objects, right, which is something that is subject to shavuos and karkos. He also owe me land and haida bekalim v'kafar v'karkos. So let's say I admit, I owe you. You lend me your pots and pans, and you lend me your whatever your karka. So he said, I admit to the kalim, but I deny the karka, or haida b'karkos. Or I admit to the karos, and I deny the cover bekalim, all the utensils. Pater. That is the case of pater from other mixes. Haida now, because why? Because once again, land we don't count as subject to mother mixes. Right? That can't be. There has to be a claim and an admission of partial of the claim. Now, and neither of those can be all land. So if the entire claim is land and I admit something else, right, or vice versa. You need an admission and a claim, both that don't consist of land. Now, so therefore, those cases is pater because both those cases, either the complete admission, right, was or the denial was the karka. Now, how it makes this karkos pater? Let's say I admitted to partial land, right? And then once again, pater. Miktas kalim chayiv. But let's say you claim from me. It says, Yoel, you use the land. I said, and use right, and you also use all my pots and pans. I said, first of all, I only used a couple of your pots and pans, not all of your pots and pans. Second of all, I didn't use your land. So such a case, you're chayiv. Why? Because the claim was lots of pots and pans, and the denial was, and I admitted to some of the pots and pans, and I denied some pots and pans. I.e., those are movable objects subject to shuas. So Tama, the kalim v'karkos. The reason is because of the kalim v'karkos. There's the original case. However, because those are lavashui, right? Those are lavashui. Ha kalim v'kalim. But if let's say it was utensils, doom the kalim v'karkos, similar to land, chayim, be chayim. So in other words, he'll be chayim. So heichi dami lav damar le halach. Is it not if you claim, hey, Yoel, you use my pots and pans? I said, no. Here's your pans. So what do you see over here? That kalim or halach would be chayiv, right? And therefore it'd be chayiv. So the Gemara says no. We all say no. Kalim also really pater. How do you kakos? Right? Kamash Milan, the Haida mixes Kalim Chayiv Afal Kakos. I'm coming to teach you that even if he goes ahead and makes the shvua on admits to part of the Kalim, then he's also Chayiv to go ahead and make a shvua on the land. Gemara says, "My Kamash Milan Zayking." You come to teach Allah of Zayking. In other words, when you have that we force the shvua also to go on other things. Tanina, we already should know that for another point. Zaykin and a chazan shein lamachrayis as in a chazan shein lamachrayis, right? You can go ahead if you're making a shvua on something which is movable. You can go ahead and force that shvua also on karka. So the Gemara says no. So over there, no. Over here, this is the initial source, and therefore we want to go ahead and teach this case. All right, we'll stop here. We should go a little farther. Let's go a couple more lines. Let's get to the Tashma. All right. One says Halach is Potter. So my Yitzchak like Kralamute Karka Mishvua. I said if you hold that Halach is Potter, so Halach means here it is. So land is always here it is, right? So if you say you stole land, I say, you owe me land. I said, only part of it. So it's like Halach, right? So it's Potter. So why do you need a pasuk that was Karka? Kol Karka Halachu. In case the Karka is right? When he goes ahead and digs the land, I got to go ahead and bring back earth and fill up these ditches or huge holes or tunnels, whatever that I dug. So therefore, not necessarily Halach because the land is not here. Inam yor. Right, where he claimed or right when he, let's say, admits to the kalim, but he denies the karka. Maybe you think over there that it would be subject to because he's denying, right? He's not admitting there's no halach here of the land. He's saying I don't owe you the land. So you might think that I owe you the land means that I have to make a shvua, kamash malon, that all karka is or no karka is subject to the mixus shvua. If it is the complete denial or the complete admission. All right, we'll stop here at the Tashma. Everyone have a wonderful day.